Thank you very much, Edmund. Before we open the floor to your questions, of course, feel free to approach the mics. And if you are shy and gusto mong isulat yung questions mo, you can go through the sites. We have the ushers. They have forms that you can fill out so we can read your questions aloud. All right, so Q&A forms are available there. And don't forget to indicate your email address and your question and your name as well. So if we are not able to tackle it today, we can send you directly a response. Okay, but before we begin, can I just...
If you have a particular stock that you want me to show, and we'll do it now,
Pwede rin.
at ang
Tama.
basura nyo, labas nyo na. May charting dito, so I think we can do it.
All right, so yun. So but before we begin, can I get a show of hands who here wants to win gift certificates worth 20,000 pesos from the Calum Trading Institute?
Ako.
Ako, gusto ko rin. Sino gusto manalo? Oy, parang konti ah. Mamaya na ba? Hindi, bago daw eh. Ito. So it's already good enough to enroll you to the 3-day executive course. Okay? So we will play a game for this gift certificate. Okay? So the game is entitled, How Well Do You Know Your Chart? Okay, di ba? Alright, so how well do you know your chart? So as traders, we spend a lot of time reviewing charts. I'm sure you guys did. And and then you tend to develop familiarity with such patterns. And some of these patterns are very memorable, no? So we will be flashing a photo of a stock chart on the big screen. And based on this photo, you will have to guess what stock it is. But you have to text us your answer. The first one to text their full name and the correct answer will win 20,000 pesos worth of GCs from the Calum Trading Institute. Okay, so are you ready? Ready? All right. Ladies and gentlemen, can we flash the stock, please? Ayan. Ay, sorry, number natin. Walang number. Ayun, meron po. Sorry. Right? Okay. Okay na? Okay, mag-Q&A muna tayo habang nanguhula kayo. Mamaya, our representative will give me the name of the winner. Okay, so the number is 0935-174-7218. Okay, guess the stock. Okay. Okay, so habang pinag-iisipan yan, let me invite again Mr. Edmund Lee to come off the stage so we can answer your questions, di ba? Oh. Habang nag-iisip kayo, ano kaya to?
Now corporation natin.
Okay. So, do we have any questions? Ayun, may question doon. Please feel free to approach the mic. Kanina, may mga questions dito kanina eh. Yun, okay. Mr. David.
That's why it's different, because if you understand about all these good quality companies, you want to buy buying it cheap, correct? Right? That's for that session. So that session over there is all about teaching about position trading. So how you want to be scaling in when things are already what we call oversold, or where we're looking for attractive levels to be accumulating it. Yes.
Okay. Any more questions? Yes, sir. Sorry? Metro Alliance daw.
Ano yun?
MAH.
Ayan na. Ayaw lumabas.
You switch the chart, please. Ano ba yan?
Can you switch to this laptop again?
Pa-switch, please. Ayan.
Okay, so you guys tell me, is there anything there 3 days ago? So after it resumed trading, it went up what? 700, I don't know, 500, 600%. And the ranges are becoming smaller and smaller the next 3, 4 days. Ano, pwede ba yan o hindi? Ano, 6-month high, obviously, everything's there. Right? You have your price, you have your volume. What else do you want? There it is. There it is. You know your risk anyway. Okay? Very similar. Here, same thing here. If you buy it here at $3 here, you can see it. Buy at $3 here, put it at 275. At least you know what your risk is anyway. If you ask me, I wouldn't buy it either. Okay, but I'm saying if you did participate, at least your risk is very small. At least you know what you're looking for. Because quarantine days, everything's there anyway. This one at the end? No, I'm not touching that. Don't touch that. Huh? No, you can. Don't get me wrong. I mean, it's a low volatility, but these are not, I don't know. I don't want to be touching these guys now. I don't know. No, I wouldn't. No. It's not. I think too much volatility on the first day. I'd pass on this. Unless you know what's happening. Unless you know what's happening to the stock. But in most cases, I'd say pass on this.
Okay, so let's.
Anything else? Okay lang yan.
All right, there's a question, Edmund. What is your analysis and forecast on GT Cap? What's the explanation for the drastic fall compared to other blue chips?
So this is for Lawrence's session, not for mine. Oops. Why does it always change? There we go. Oops. So, obviously, this is buy low, sell high. This is not buy high, sell high. So this is different. Okay, so if you're participating in GD Cap, obviously, you're supposed to be attending that session, not this session. Somebody asking me about what's happening. It's dropping, obviously, because of what's happening on the political risk scenario. So it's getting hit on Toyota, especially because of the car excise tax. Plus Metrobank being very weak also. If you ask me about Toyota, on my end, I think most of these are already priced in. Meaning I think Toyota is still a crown jewel when it comes to GT Cap. I still like what's happening with GT Cap. I think it's still an opportunity to be buying. If that answers your question, which is not related to momentum.
Okay. All right, if you have any questions, please approach the mic so all the members of the audience can listen to your question.
Sorry? Yeah, I think most of it is already priced in.
The question
I
is
think it's already priced in. I mean, it's already 50% down from where it was from 1.7. I think most of the negatives on Toyota is already priced in.
Okay, sir, yes, question from the back. Please approach the mics if you want to ask questions.
So, yung question ko not exactly on yung sa momentum, but rather yung the ongoing implementation of it. How exactly do you, I mean, probably sa inyo mayroon parang fancy software, pero what would you suggest ang better way para ma-fine-tune namin, ma-backtest namin yung sa trail stops particularly? Kasi doon ako nahihirapan. And I always, like, walang free tool ako nahanap so far with regards to the PSE na parang pang backtesting ng strategies.
Great question. Normally when we're backtesting, we're using tradingview.com, sir. So if you're using tradingview.com, there's actually a backtesting program already there. But it's for US, Japan, and Hong Kong. So the thing is, if you're already backtesting what already works in US, Japan, and Hong Kong, most likely you can replicate it also in the Philippines. Okay? And tradingview.com is already free. Okay? Normally, for your own analysis, for your own work, what I tell people is that you need to keep a journal of every single trade that you do. I have a journal of every single trade I've done since 2009. Meaning every single stock that I bought, I have a record of it since 2009. And I always write why I bought it. I mean, what's my entry, what's my exit? Did I make or did I lose money? And I always review it at the end of the day to see what I did. Because like what I shared to you guys a while ago, sometimes we make trades. It's not gonna make money or lose money. But if you followed your plan, then it's okay. The challenge really is that if you don't follow your plan, maski na kumita ka, yung pala chamba lang pala. Then you keep on looking for that chamba trade. And it doesn't happen for the next 5 or 6, then you have a problem. So that's why we always have to review and do our journal, because we always try to understand what we did historically, whether it was right or wrong. So I think both you can backtest it in TradingView, and 2, review it also with your own journal. I hope that helps.
All right, Edmund, let's go to the note question. So another question is, what is your read on CLC? Is it a good fundamentally sound company?
I'm not going to say anything bad. So, since they did the acquisition with To-Go last year, I think most of everything on the logistics side is priced in. And shipping is one of the most boring industries, okay? Shipping is one of the most boring industries. Why? It's because it's so competitive. It's been here for the last 50, 60 years. And actually margins on the shipping is actually not as big as what people think it is. I think the reason why it's because even though they look like they make a lot of net margins, the CapEx for maintenance and for spending to keep up the ships and to repair them, it's just too expensive. So what happens in the industry, it just becomes so competitive that it's not one of the industries we're looking at right now. Okay? So I hope that answers your question. Obviously, CLC is the biggest player right now. But usually in the logistics side, it's not something we're looking forward to, even though they're participating in the e-commerce space. Not on the shipping, more on the other logistics side.
Okay, can we have questions from the floor? Wait for me. I'm gonna give you my mic so everyone can hear your question.
Hi, good afternoon. Ano yung pwede niyong advice for those who want to go full-time trader? Let's say from corporate workers, gusto mo full-time.
Don't do it. I have this question all the time. People ask me in our interviews and all the time. I really want to join Calum and I'm ready to quit my job. And I tell every single person who goes here, please don't quit your job for this one. Okay? This is something that we take the time to learn, and everybody thinks it's so easy that what we're doing. Obviously, it's not. And it's not because it's difficult. Actually, what we do is very simple. The problem is that like what's happening today, the last 2-3 months, what are you going to do? What do you think we've been doing the last 2-3 months? Wala naman nangyayari. So that's the problem for a lot of people. Everybody thinks this jump to becoming a full-time trader is easy. It's not. Okay? In fact, I share to a lot of people becoming a full-time trader is, well, the reason why is because we have a lot of stuff on our plate to do. But in reality, our job is very boring and very systematic. If there's something for us to do, we're there. Kung wala naman kaming ginagawa eh. Right? So the problem is if you're doing this full-time, I will tell you, pag tinignan mo, parang lahat pwede. Kasi wala ka na magawa eh. Okay? So a lot of people take this time to understand that when you're doing this full-time, it's not something that's very easy or transition to do. Okay? Now, if you understand it and you're just managing wealth and you're managing your own money because you're looking at stuff from a bigger picture and because you have a lot of money that you're just deploying over time, that one I can understand. But if you're starting out and building your capital, I highly suggest for most people, please don't do it. If you're here to make money because you're pressured to make money, meaning if you make money, kakain ka sa hotel, kakain ka sa Conrad. Pag wala kang kinita, diyan ka na sa 7-Eleven, patsit ka doon. Okay? I'm telling you, you will never make it. Okay? So if you're here for your full time because you think that it will pay for your day-to-day expenses, I will tell you, you will never make it. If you read the book on Momentum Masters, greatest traders already, they already wrote it down there, that book. If you're playing this game to pay the bills, don't even bother joining this game. It's already written, all the big boys already tell it. It's not just me sharing it to you guys. Okay? So I'm sharing it to you guys also. If you're here just to pay the bills, you will not make it either. Okay? But don't get me wrong. This is a skill that all of you need to learn. All of you need to learn, no matter what age. Okay? It's because when you understand how the market works, I will tell you, there is so much money to be made in the stock market. There is so much money to be made in the stock market. Not just in the short, but even on a bigger picture scale. Okay? So that's why everybody needs to learn about it. So don't do it.
Okay, do you have any more questions from the floor? Naga lang, si sir muna. Tanong ka na eh. Okay. Yes, sir. Again, if you have questions, please approach the mic. May mics tayo around.
Good afternoon, sir. I noticed in your charts that you're using EMA 10, 20, and 50. May I know the purpose why you're using those three? The other two, at least.
Of the other two? Ganito. All my charts, most cases, I only look at 3 EMAs. Okay? So it's not even the 10. It's usually the 20, 50, and the 200. Okay? It's because I already know what the 10-day looks like. I also know what the 5-day looks like at the back of my mind. Okay? So normally in the cases, because I only use EMAs to show me what the bigger picture looks like. That's why I use the other moving averages. So the reason why we use 200, it's because 200 is 1 year, from what Lauren said. 50 is 1/4 or 1/4, which is quarterly reports come out. And 20 is obviously just half of that. That's why we just look at things from a shorter term point of view. So if you ask me about EMAs, if you're just momentum trading, the only thing that you need is just your 5 and your 10-day EMA. Usually anything below the 10-day, you don't want to be looking at it anyway. So I hope that answers your question. It's just for reference, just I got used to it. So at least it's just a bigger picture.
Okay, there's a question. Please approach the mics.
Hey sir, good afternoon po. Tatanong ko lang po yung insight nyo regarding sa trending na stock ngayon, yung bull. Any insights about that stock? I think oversold na ata. Ay, overbought na.
Okay. Please be careful. When you use that word, can things become even more overbought? Meaning if a stock is already high, can it go even higher? Yes or no? Yes, of course it can. Okay? Now, this is a perfect case of fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame... Sorry. Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. Okay? The reason why is because niloko ka na. Niloko ka na. Papaloko ka ulit. Okay? Like what I said, there's a reason why we only look at stuff that's 6 months high. Okay? The reason why is because normally a lot of people already got stuck here. Okay? Tapos yung mga tao dito magpapaipit ulit. So if you notice about these cases, look at the volume here. Is it big or small compared to here? About the same, or about bigger, slightly bigger, or about the same. Okay? I mean, my point is here is that a lot of people already got stuck here. Ngayon, this is the only time where they can start to find ways to get out. And is there a story here? I don't know. Could be. Could be something there. But normally in these cases, we wait for it already to go new high before we even start about looking at these stocks. Okay? Does that answer your question?
Edmund, there's a question here about STR stock. What's your take on STR?
There's nothing here. It's obviously going down, right? That's the reason why we tell people, yeah, it ends at the 10-day EMA. Okay, you don't want to be participating in stocks that are already below the 10-day EMA. Everything beyond that is beyond momentum. Okay? If you're asking me to tell you to, okay yan, hold ka pa, that's not the answer you're going to get from me. Kaya mo ba yan? Okay, pan long term na to. That's not how we do it here. Okay, and I'll share it to you guys. At the top, Star Mall used to be 300 billion. 300 billion in value. Okay? So it goes down from 30 all the way to 10. It's still worth 100 billion. Okay? Can it go down even lower? My answer is yes. Okay? So please be careful when you're trading these stocks. Grabe. Pangklase.
Okay, pare.
Does that, whoever asked that question,
On the second surge, is there wala naman setup kasi It
Exactly.
surged up and then it went down to 10-day ba yun?
Exactly. So this is my point. So on the way to the top, you guys still see volatility? Yes or no? So if there's volatility and then breakout volatility, yes or no? So if it's hard to participate, I always tell people, don't touch it anymore. Okay? Because if you're going through volatility, it's just a toss coin about what's going to happen next. Whether aakyat ba yan o hindi. Hindi ko rin alam eh. Okay? Remember, all the setups that we're looking for is quieting ranges are going down. Now my point is here is that even though ranges are big, it doesn't mean it cannot go higher. It can always go higher. And I always tell people that what we're looking for is the easy money. We're just looking here to pick up money that's already easy for us to pick up. I'm not here trying to complicate our lives, trying to make a guess of whether this will continue to go higher or not. That's not the point of what we do here. Okay? I hope that answers your question. Whoever answered that.
Questions from the floor. Sir.
Magandang hap.
Sige po, go ahead.
Good afternoon. Question lang po. Halimbawa, mayroon tayong chart kanina, dalawa yung possible entry point. So if you buy on the first entry point, so meron
Vulcan, you mean?
I'm sorry?
On Vulcan?
Yung sa chart kanina sa
Here?
exercise, yes, sa exercise.
As exercise?
Yes.
Okay.
So we have a possible 2 entries. So nakapasok ka ng okay dun sa pangalawa and sabi mo, you sell half. And then nakakita ka na naman ng panibagong entry. Do you like average,
Buy back.
average up?
Yeah, buy back. Yeah, that's correct.
So nag-average up ka until ma-break yung, and then sell ka sa break ng 10.
Correct. I mean, the worst case that can happen to you is still at the 5-day EMA. That's your trail stop anyway for you to get out.
Because ang una kasi, ang pagkaintindi ko is meron ka kasing fixed amount. So once, kasi di ba sabi, ride your winners. So if tumama ka, average up ka hanggang kung may makita ka ulit na bagong entry point.
Yeah, that's correct. That's exactly it. Right? You can always adjust your VAR anyway based on the new setup. So that's always okay.
Oh, clarification.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Sure, no problem.
Okay, sir, before we get to the question, I think there's another clarification, Edmund. On the slingshot strategy, where do you usually buy? At the end of the day or intraday?
Very good question. I think this is something you guys all have to write down. The question was, when do you buy during the day or during the end of the day? Okay? When you're buying, normally cases is that in the morning, if you're buying in the morning, normally kasi momentum. Okay, for all your big caps and all your Ayala, SM, the best time to be buying is always in the afternoon. Okay? The reason why is morning, puro volatility lang yan and nobody knows what's going to happen. Okay? When you're doing your momentum strategy, a lot of these things are already happening in the morning. Kasi nagbe-breakout yan with volume in the morning yan eh. Okay? So normally, when you're buying, it's most of the cases in the morning. But be careful, when you're selling and you're making your decision whether you want to cut loss or do something, the best way to do your decision making is always around 1:30 to 3 p.m. in the afternoon. Okay? Because normally, when you're especially pag umaakyat na yan eh. Pag umaakyat na yan, maraming bastos yan eh. Okay? So normally when you're doing it in the morning, it's just volatility because people are now panic selling or anything in the morning. So the best time to be decision making is always in the afternoon when it comes to selling. For buying, obviously it will happen in the morning for momentum. Okay? But for your big caps, please, when the buying, please do it at the afternoon.
Okay.
There's
sir.
no such thing as best day. There's no best day. The best day is Monday to Friday.
Go ahead.
With regard to the price of Metrobank, Metrobank is now dropping below the stock right prices.
Sorry?
Metrobank,
Metrobank.
yes, now it's below the stock offering price of 75 pesos. Can you look at the chart?
It's just looking like it's going down.
Yes.
But for Metrobank, I mean, obviously, April likes it and she thinks it's cheap. Oops, ayaw lumabas. Wala na, ayaw ng Metrobank. Malalim kasi. Breakdown. Okay? So obviously, if you're in Metrobank, obviously you didn't go there for trading, I assume. You didn't come here to trade Metrobank. Okay? Your assumption is that you're buying it obviously for longer term horizons or because it's a good quality company. Obviously, it's going to take time for it to go up. Okay? If you ask me, I also think it's already cheap enough. Okay? So if you're accumulating it, by all means, you can start accumulating it. Remember, everything is a matter of expectation. So if it's your objective, okay, if it's your objective to have that longer term horizon, then of course, you should be thinking about accumulating Metrobank over the next 6 months.
One more stock. How about NRCP? It's moving very well.
Ayaw lumabas eh. Dali, ito na. Okay? So obviously, Metrobank, oh my gosh. Entirely different topic. Guys, remember, this is trend trading. This is momentum trading. This is not momentum trading pababa. Okay? NR. Did I answer your question on Metrobank?
Yes,
I mean,
thank
there's
you.
nothing we can do about
Thank
it.
you
I
very
mean,
much. Thank you.
Metrobank is that something we can always, I mean, you have to buy cheaper anyway over time. So same case, what we don't want. So if you look at the bottom, price trying to break out with volume. Yes or no? Okay, but what is this? Is it 6-month high? Yes or no? No. So these guys, we always pass on it. So it's not something we're looking at either. Hope that answers your question. Okay, thank you.
Okay, before we get your question, sir, just a quick clarification, Edmund, from one of our audience here. What is the difference between momentum and swing trading in terms of entry and exit?
Okay, great question also. So in most of the cases we always teach is always about momentum trading. Okay, so if you look at the slides a while ago by Chairman, there are only 2 setups that worked so well for us. So meaning 90% of our profits came from 2 setups. One is momentum, 2 is position. And the position comes from coils. Okay, so whatever Lawrence is teaching here, what I'm teaching here, 90% of whatever we made come from here. Okay? The reason why we don't talk about swing a lot, so swing is normally on oversold conditions, meaning we generally characterize them as pullbacks. Okay? So the reason why we don't play pullbacks here, one, it's because you have a higher commission here in the Philippines. Okay? So the problem is when you're playing with higher commission, the chances for success pag pullback is much, much lower actually. So what happens when you're playing pullbacks, there's a reason why it's weak already. That's why it's pulling back. So usually people are selling when it goes back into resistance. So that spread from that pullback all the way to resistance, in most cases, is not that high. Okay? It's different eh. When you're buying a momentum stock, pag nag-breakout, pag nagpo-pause, your resistance mo naman, sky's the limit eh. Nagets ba? Right? There's no resistance eh. But when you're buying a pullback, there's always a resistance to the previous high. So when you have a resistance, that spread sometimes is not worth it. And that's why what happens there is that usually the case is we don't tell people to swing trade in the Philippines. Okay? I hope that answers whoever asked that question.
Yes, sir. Question from the floor.
Good afternoon, Mr. Lee. Just a follow-up question on slingshot strategy. So where do you mentioned that you buy after the post-day breakout. So when do you usually buy? Is it on the body post-day breakout or on the week post-day breakout?
It's on the tail. So the highest, so whatever the range is, the highest point, it's on the tail.
So on the
Yes,
week. Okay.
correct.
Thank you.
Yeah, not on the body.
All right. Do we have any more questions from the floor? But before we get into that, another question, Edmund, on your journal. Do you write your emotions when you buy a stock in your journal? It's a valid question.
I don't. But one of our coaches was explaining a week ago that whatever he does is that he always writes the emotional state of why he bought and sold the stock. So the reason why is because every time he goes and does a trade, he always writes about how he's feeling. Was it something that was based on a positive or a negative emotional state? Okay? You know, I don't believe in all that. Kung marami kang problema, siguro. But
And I guess it's easier to do now because of the emoticons, ano?
I know.
Sulat mo na smiley. Or
if you're emotional, the stock market is not for you either. So, so you can. I think some people do that, but in my case, I've never done that. I just usually write down the reason why I did or do not something.
Okay, yeah. Are there any more questions from the floor? Guys? Okay, let me just read out while we're waiting. A customer asked, how do we access your YouTube account on basic technical analysis? It's very simple. We have a video of the basic technical analysis course. It's a total of 29 videos that talks about the basics. So for you to be able to access that, please join our group. It's COL Trading to Alpha. So that's www.facebook.com/groups/COL Trading to Alpha, and you'll have access to the videos. So it's designed in such a way that you don't have to wait for an hour or 2 hours to finish. You can take it in small bite sizes. Okay? Another question here, Edmund, is, sorry, you were saying?
I mean, to those who are trying to get updates and everything, I mean, we have a podcast every week. It's called The Short Stops, so on Calum. So if you haven't listened to it, please do. I think everything, especially in terms of markets, and there's so much amount of information that is there, I don't think people can grasp it in one go. But if you keep on repeating it and listening to it all the time, I will tell you, most of what's happening in the market is that pretty much in line with what we've already done in the podcast. It's very powerful if you ask me. It's not a lot. We try to keep it short, from around 10 to 15 minutes, so when you're on your way to work or somewhere else, please feel free to listen. It's very light. You can find it on the Calum homepage on Facebook, so it's easy for you to understand.
And Short Stops is also available in the COL Trading to Alpha page. So in
Thank
case, whatever mode you wish to access it. Edmund, another question is on PXP chart. I think you showed it kanina, but someone is asking about its...
Okay, so if you look at this chart here, NRCP, what does it remind you of? Does it look like? This? Yes or no? After going up, going back down, now all we see is just volatility. Correct? Yes or no? Nothing there. So PXP. So same case. Wait, it's still loading. Okay, so same case with PXP. After a huge run up here, you have your sell-off. Now you're just going through massive volatility. So there's anything that we can do? What do you guys think? Wala rin. Same thing. So if you want to speculate on whether it's going to create the 1 trillion reserves, tawagin nyo si MVP. Wala na alam dito. This is, guys, remember, what we're doing here in momentum trading is doing something systematic. We're not here to play this gamble, but if you want to, I mean, if you're investing or you have different intentions or expectations as to why you bought this stock, then it's totally different. Okay? You're not trading anymore. You're betting that, but when you're betting, that's why I said, if you're betting, if there's one thing that you forget, one thing you do not forget, that is VAR. Okay? So if you're betting this and you want to buy it, bahala kayo sa buhay mo. Okay? But make sure, for example, you know how much you're gonna willing to lose. Let's say, for example, sige, labanan ko to hanggang 9 pesos. Okay? Bahala na eh. Bahala na kung manalo sila, lalabanan mo hanggang 9 pesos. The only thing I can suggest to you is just put your VAR based on that. So if you're buying at a 13, for example, and then you're making a bet for 4 pesos at 9, please, if you want to bet, don't risk anything more than 1 or 2% of your portfolio. At least you know how much you're going to be losing anyway. Okay?
Okay, I think we have enough time for 2 more questions. So sir, yes sir, go ahead.
Good afternoon po. At sinabi niyo po kanina na nagte-trade din po kayo ng US market sa Japan market. Do you also advise us to trade US and Japan markets?
I love the global markets, and how would I put it? Obviously, it entires higher capital. I think if you're able to do it here, you should think about also doing it abroad. Okay? I think their principles are very similar. The approach is the same. If you look at people speculating here, I will tell you in Hong Kong, it's a big slot machine. Okay? So people like to speculate even more in Hong Kong. So that's why you'll see a lot of stuff going up in Hong Kong also. Okay? Obviously, there's a lot of players also in Hong Kong that's happening. So a lot of people also getting wiped out. okay, because they don't understand what's happening. But if you ask me, Japan, US, and the global markets is just abundant. So I think the answer, eventually you want to go to that next step also. But learn it here in the Philippines and learn it well. And then figure out if you want to go into the US and the global markets after.
Yung tinitrade niyo po, individual stocks po o index din po?
No.
Sa US and...
Sorry?
Sa US and Japan.
Index? So if you're buying index, you want to be buying it cheap or expensive?
Cheap.
Cheap, right? There's your question. There's your answer to your question.
Kasi na lang po, how to trade the US market? I mean, mag-open din po ng broker sa dito sa atin po.
Let Ed answer that.
Currently, I don't think we can give exposure to the US markets from our brokerage standpoint. But I think there are options that you can go into. You want to Google that. You can also open accounts in the US. But normally, the challenge of most clients is that the entry requirements are a bit stringent. So you may want to wait before you.
Can I
get into
share
those
which
markets.
broker we use?
Go ahead.
Is it that fine?
Go.
I don't know.
I think it's fine.
We use interactive brokers for our global account.
IB, yeah.
Okay, so everything that we do, we use interactive brokers.
Okay, hope that answers your question. So for the last one that we have, Edmund, one of our customers is asking for your thoughts on URC and Surpass. Maraming tawanan sa Surpass. URC and X.
If you guys don't know, I used to be the consumer analyst for COL, and I used to handle URC. And I still remember URC going from 40 to 60 pesos. And we were saying it's so expensive. It went to 80. It was expensive. And the funny part about this was Gokongwei was selling. So Gokongwei was placing out shares at 40, 60, and then the last plan he placed out shares was at 100 pesos. So Gokongwei was selling, because I'm sure he also thought the stock was expensive. Until it went from 100, the stock went to 200, and I don't think he sold a single share after that. So the irony of life, okay? And then now it's back to 120, okay? So what URC is going through right now is, I think, incredibly difficult, not just on them. I think it's the entire consumer sector, okay? So you're looking at a massive sugar tax. So if you guys read the newspaper like a week ago, I think Zesto threatened to close down their plant because they just said, we're not making any money anymore through Zesto if this continues, okay? So you can actually feel how difficult what the consumer side is feeling right now, because there's only so much you can do to share the cost back to the consumer, okay? Now, obviously, as from a consumer standpoint, you're still looking at a great brand. Obviously, Jack and Jill is still a great brand, not just in the local, but even international side. I think what's gonna happen here is that what you're playing against for URC is time, right? I think this consolidation in terms of the consumer segment will probably take another 6 months to a year. But I still like URC as a brand. I think the brand name will never be gone. So what you're looking for, obviously, is that it's just probably gonna stay here for the next 6 months, okay? Now, that's the easy one, okay? The harder one is on SurePass. Okay, on SurePass, okay. So I assume this was asked to me based on a fundamental question. And when SurePass approached us a few years ago when they were doing their IPO, my biggest concern was, how is a mobile gaming company going to list? And the reason why is simple, is because you had to pay to play their games. Okay, and when I was looking at SurePass, I was looking at a business model that it's not gonna work. Why? It's because to play video games now, it's free. You don't need to pay to play. So why would I pay 2 pesos to play a SurePass game of Ann Curtis and Kuya Kim, right? So it didn't make sense to me. Obviously, they listed and did everything, and that's why when they raised capital and then they raised even more capital, they sought to change their business model into a software enterprise CRM style, okay? And when they were sharing that, when they're acquiring so many companies, in fact, I think they spent most of their money acquiring all companies. They boosted their overhead from 90 people to 780. I still remember that day. And I was asking them management questions and everything. And I found it so difficult because when you're going to the enterprise risk management, now you're competing against the big boys, right? It's a space now I feel it's just too competitive. Why? You're playing against SAP, HP, Oracle, Salesforce.com in terms of enterprise risk management. And it felt like a big challenge for me. And that's why I was never too, never too fond of what the change in the business model was going to happen to SurePass. And I think the price is already reflecting that, and hopefully we'll see something more positive happen with SurePass, and hopefully they'll find and get a new business model that will work out for them. The nice answer.
No.
I hope that answers.
All right.
And if you're asking about the ICO or whatever $100 million that they're doing in ICO, I think most ICOs are a scam. So it's not them, but I mean most ICOs are really a scam. I think it's proven. I think if you read everywhere, most ICOs are a scam. Obviously, Chairman is not a fan of Bitcoin. I'm not a fan of Bitcoin either. Although you can see how much speculation happens in Bitcoin and cryptocurrency. I'm not a fan of Bitcoin. I'm a big fan of blockchain. I've been pushing for COL to adopt blockchain, so at least it becomes very, I mean, we have to prepare for it also. I think it's going to revolutionize the entire industry, especially the entire financial industry. So even COL has to prepare for blockchain down the road. But in terms of putting a token and valuing that blockchain, I don't believe in anything. Why? So.
All right, that's all the time we have for now in the question and answer. Again, please stay on the stage. If you have any more questions that you want answered, please feel free to write it on a piece of paper and pass it to our ushers. So right now, Edmund, I think we are here to announce the winner of our contest. So can we again flash the slide, and I ask you to read out the name.
Can I guess
of
first what the stock
winner.
is? Mali pala ako. I thought it was. Are they going to flash the stock price on the screen?
All right, again, one big round of applause for Mr. Edmund Lee. Thank you very much for sharing your knowledge with our customers. And that, ladies and gentlemen, ends our afternoon session. For those of you who are seeking a copy of today's video coverage or the slides, we will be sending it to you all next week. Just give us ample time to do a bit of edit, but it's as if you're watching the event over again. Also, I'd like to remind everyone, for those premium clients out there who haven't joined our trading group in Facebook, you can do so by going to www.facebook.com/groups/trading-to-alpha and hit the join button, and we'll ensure that we accept your joining. And if we don't, please feel free to call your CEM so we can approve your request. And should you wish to talk to Mr. Edmund Lee, he will be here and he'll be outside a little bit later. Okay? So I hope you learned a lot from the speaker today. Again, this is Ed Martinez of COL Premium. Have a wonderful day ahead and happy trading.